I'm Luke Ford, your moral leader. It's an exciting time again. Torah study with Joey and Monica and Luke. Or you can call me Levi, or just call me leader, your moral leader. So that's who I am. We're in the season of our joy. It's Sukkot, and this is my lulav that I'm shaking at you. And here's my etrog, which is a citrus-like thing. And did I get a deal? Like, if I bought it through the shul, it would have been $54. But I went and walked the streets, the mean streets of Pico-Robertson. And this kid, all these kids were lined up at different booths, and they were all competing against each other right outside of Eilat Market. And this nice, shy little kid said $35. I mean, this is the least amount of money I've ever paid for a lulav and etrog. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the more expensive lulav etrogim sets have, but like, it looks good to me. Like, a lot of the other kids pointed out that it doesn't have a pitum, which is like a thing that comes off here. But I didn't want a pitum because the pitum can break off and then you're screwed. I don't remember all the halakhic ramifications if your pitum falls off, but just imagine you're going around through Sukkot and your pitum falls off, then it's like the wheels will come off your car. So you wouldn't want that to happen. So lulav etrog, just $35. Did I get a deal? I am so happy. I remember there had been years I was so broke I couldn't even afford a lulav and etrog set. While everyone else was marching around in shul with their lulav and etrog, the only thing I was waving was the latest Philip Roth novel. And I felt so unspiritual. I felt like, you know, everyone else, like, what a low opinion they must have of the leader. I mean, the moral leader. You know, without a lulav and an etrog. So
can you imagine falling that far that you can't even afford a lulav?
Right. Those were truly dark days in the life of the leader. But thankfully, you know, happy days are here again. I've got my own lulav and etrog set. I've got Monica and Joey, and our parsha this week is the last bit of Deuteronomy. It is the parsha Vezot Havaracha. Havaracha. For you goyim out there, that means Deuteronomy chapter 33 and Deuteronomy chapter 34. And I was just watching a movie, it's called The Last Tracker. It was about this last Aboriginal tracker in Australia in like 1922, and he was leading some whites to go find an Aborigine man who was accused of killing a white woman. And like all the tribal components. No, it was this. That was one movie. No, it was the other movie called The Last Wave. So there was The Last Tracker. The Last Wave was directed by Peter Weir. 1977 Australian film. Richard Chamberlain plays like a white Australian lawyer who defends 4 or 5 Aborigines accused of manslaughter murder. And he runs into an Aborigine medicine man, you know, Aborigine moral leader, and he gets into a discussion about Aboriginal law. And if they reveal some of the secret rights, then they can get these men off of a murder charge. But the Aboriginal leader says, no, you can't reveal that stuff. And Richard Chamberlain says, well, aren't people more important than the law? And the Aboriginal leader says, no, the law is more important than people. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, this is kind of Jewish. Interesting discussion. And so, as someone who's come to Judaism in the last 18 years, I have a whole new appreciation of tribalism. Before I was a WASP, and we were like, you know, the majority culture, or I was nothing for a few years. Mm. And like tribalism was like this esoteric, primitive, backward thing that, you know, that other people had, and like the progressive thing was to, you know, not be encumbered by tribal things. But this is really tribal. I mean, this Torah portion is all about Moses, you know, giving distinct missions and distinct blessings and judgments to distinct tribes. So,
absolutely.
And the more religious you go, the more tribal it gets.
The interesting thing I would say in response to that, the interesting thing for me is that I was having a discussion this week with a friend who's not Jewish, and we were talking about Temple Emmanuel at one point had some sort of a schism. The rabbi left for supposedly embezzling money or whatever. Right,
yeah. He was known as the Playboy Rabbi.
Yeah, he did my brother-in-law's wedding. I'm very yes. So he
would preach about the Playboy philosophy from the Bema. He was very for the Playboy philosophy.
But the thing is, my friend, who comes from kind of Lithuanian Catholic, I guess, background was like, well, God, there's nothing worse than that, a religious leader embezzling money. And I was like, dude, they're not really religious leaders, they're more like tribal chieftains. And I said, and in the Reform movement, in some ways even more so. Or in the,
because it's not religion holding people together. It's just an ethnic identity.
Right. I said they don't have any. There's no religion. There's just jazz hands.
Right.
And like, which was my way of saying so there's in some ways it feels to me occasionally like that's actually all they've got left on the secular side.
Right.
Is actually the tribalism, which but no, this is an intensely tribal document. There's no tikkun along the side, but.
Yellow Jacket in the chat room says his mother taught him to beware of preachers who use the word "like" a lot.
Who is that a reference to?
I think that's a reference to me, so I'll have to watch my P's and Q's.
Okay, thank you, Yellow Jacket. I think your mom may have been right.
And the practice of journalism is like anti-tribal because you're just pursuing the truth.
Right.
And so you don't let tribal influences impede your pursuit of the truth. So that's kind of how I pursue my blogging. But then I think, wow, I'm being really ungrateful because even though these various synagogues kicked me out, they were really good to me for a while. They really extended themselves. I went to people's homes. The rabbis studied Torah with me.
Right.
Now it's ungrateful now to report negative stories about them. So I kind of feel the pull of journalism on one hand and tribal allegiances on the other.
Yeah, my feeling is that those two things are antithetical. I mean, you either, if you're going to be writing and publishing, either you're after the truth,
right,
or you're trying to serve in some way as an instrument of the interests of the community, whatever it is.
Right.
So, either one has its merits, but if you're a truth guy, then you're in trouble.
Well, and I think tribal allegiance also, to a certain degree, has to do with responsibility.
Yes.
And so that's so difficult to determine in one collective way. What is responsibility, right? Is Luke being responsible to the tribe by reporting the truth as he does, or is this irresponsible?
Right.
There are going to be two differing opinions about that. So,
well, there will. I would imagine there will be many differing opinions. I mean, ultimately, I think the individual decides whether they're assimilating. Rabbi said this, and the guy I like said that, and this. But ultimately, I think each person really does come to their own judgment of how can I perform responsibly towards the community, until someone calls them out and makes them feel like shit, and then they maybe adjust. But I mean. Yeah,
for me, my primary allegiance is to truth, and everyone else can be screwed except for my closest friends.
Well, that's a tough gig, man.
But then, I keep getting thrown out of places, with that attitude. So then, where do I hang my kippah, aside from the hovel, if I got no other home. So then so I'll protect this synagogue and I'll protect this rabbi, but then, if I get thrown out, then it's no more protection. But then, what about all the kindness that they've shown me for 8 years? So it's there's this Jewish notion of hakaras hatov, gratitude for the good that people have done you.
Right. Well, can you ignore them? And what if you just ignored, okay, I'm just not going to write, I'm going to pretend they're not there. I'll pursue truth elsewhere.
Yeah, I could do that, which would probably be the thing to do. There's a big world out there.
Yeah,
I have to say the truth about my own tribe, here in Pico-Robertson.
Right. Right. But there's a cost to that too. But yes, but yeah. I mean, I guess that would be my. Yeah, generally, I mean, if there are people I care about, I will just if I have the option of saying something that will be damaging, I think will be damaging or hurtful to them in some way, then I just don't do it. But yeah, but that's tricky. It's not not so straightforward.
Monica?
It's interesting because usually when you have a tribe or a clan, I'm probably taking this from Native American culture. When you have a tribe or a clan, when one of the members of this tribe or this clan does something wrong, every single member of the tribe is responsible. There's an interesting kind of collective responsibility that goes along with claiming, existence in a tribe. So, how much of a tribe is a tribe that won't also take responsibility for Luke's actions? I don't know. It's just a question.
Well, collective responsibility is certainly a very Jewish notion. We're all
intensely,
right,
collectively responsible for each other.
and I, you know, the first time Luke and I hung out,